So Joe Biden announced that he might be naming Stacey Abrams as his VP pick right out of the gate, which actually is kind of smart. It's kind of smart. I don't think she should do it. I think it's political suicide, but it is actually, actually, I can't say that. I can't say whether or not it's political suicide because I can actually see kind of the upside for Stacey Abrams. But let's just talk about this for a minute. So this is clearly an attempt by Joe Biden to strengthen the ticket and to, the criticism about him running for president is that the guy is just the furthest thing from a progressive, even though he claims that he is the most progressive guy. This is the guy that wrote the Patriot Act. It wasn't called the Patriot Act at the time, but he wrote it. He also has made comments in the far distant past about segregation. When Bernie Sanders was out there actually protesting and getting arrested as he was protesting segregation in schools, Joe Biden was instead actually promoting segregation in some ways. And so, it's kind of smart for him to try to put Stacey Abrams, who is a very intelligent Black woman who ran for Georgia governor. If you remember, she also gave the address, what do they call that? The Democratic response to the State of the Union address. She also did that. So you might recognize her. But she's a very, very smart woman. She graduated from Yale Law. The highest political office she's held was state assembly in Georgia. She then ran for governor, did not win. I believe that there was a lot of election fraud. There's really a lot of stuff that kind of happened in that election that was a bit sketchy. And really, she's been kind of wondering what her next steps are as far as her political career. So on one hand, you could say, okay, maybe this would be good for her because she really has no next step. And not only does she have really no next step, but the bright shining light can fade fast on you if you kind of disappear off into the sunset, which is what could happen to her potentially. So if she doesn't make a next move, people could just forget about her. This would be a way to stay in the spotlight, to remain relevant if she joins the Joe Biden ticket. The problem is that Joe Biden is, like I said, a guy who's really far from being a progressive. And if she attaches herself to him now in kind of an endorsement, what does that mean for her? Now, Stacey Abrams, to be clear, is not a progressive. She is more of a moderate, I would say, centrist Democrat in a lot of ways. During her gubernatorial election, people were claiming, calling her a progressive because that's what they do. They always throw that term around. They see Black woman from Georgia, they think progressive. She's not a progressive. She wasn't a supporter of Medicare for all. She was into incrementalism. She often reached across the aisle to work with Republicans on a variety of things. She often sided with Republicans. She's very much more of a centrist Democrat. So in that way, she's aligned with Joe Biden in a lot of things. And maybe that would make her want to do it. Some people are saying that this would be the single biggest argument against doing this for Abrams would be that this has never really been done before for a presidential candidate to come right out of the gate saying, we're running as a pair. I also wonder if Biden is doing it because this would maybe get Obama's endorsement. And I bet you he talked to Obama and Obama's like, it's going to be really hard, my friend, because you've got Kamala Harris in the race and you have, all of these great women. And really, it's probably time for a woman. And so, I would think that maybe that's what Obama's thinking. I don't know. I have no, don't take me on that as I've read nothing. I've read nothing that says that. I'm just guessing, literally speculating. So, but I would think that maybe that's what Obama said. So maybe the idea is, well, if he can get Stacey Abrams on his ticket, then that would get him that coveted Obama endorsement. So the only parallel to something like this was when Ted Cruz did it. So he had kind of a last-minute desperate move to name Carly Fiorina, is that how you say her name? Carly Fiorina, as his vice president candidate. And they kind of awkwardly walked out holding hands like, yay, we're going to run together. And it was seen as a move of desperation, not as a position of strength. This time coming out from the beginning, well, I'm going to be honest, it also smells of desperation, doesn't it? It kind of does. I mean, it's just Joe Biden realizing that he's the old white guy that has a not a very progressive record. I mean, at least Bernie Sanders, who people might say, yeah, is also an old white guy. This is a guy who has a record, a history of fighting for human rights, for fighting for civil liberties, for being a complete progressive since the dawn of time. Bernie Sanders has been a fighter for the people. Joe Biden, not so much. So he's got a lot against him. And this does feel like an act of desperation. I think it's political suicide for Stacey Abrams. It could be political suicide for Stacey Abrams. And if she says no, it's definitely political suicide for Joe Biden. So what a risk. She must be saying yes for these reports to come out. Because really, for this to leak, and if she says no, I mean, that is death to Joe Biden. Where does that leave him? Where does that leave him? It's not good. Some other stuff in the political world. Andrew Yang has said that he will debate Ben Shapiro about circumcision. So Andrew Yang has come out saying that he is against circumcision. He doesn't see any medical necessity for it, that really his two boys are not circumcised, that his wife convinced him of that, and he believes that it shouldn't be pushed on people. Ben Shapiro, on the other hand, is Jewish and really does believe in circumcision. So Ben says, quote, as an Orthodox Jew, I have continued interest in the continuation of circumcision. There is a ceremonial aspect to the procedure in the Orthodox Jewish faith. Andrew Yang says otherwise. Personally, I believe that it is barbaric to take a knife to a child's genitals and cut off portions of it. So I would be interested in hearing this debate. I do think that I would even go as far as banning it altogether, to be honest with you. Okay, what else here? And I'm sure many of you will say things in the comments about that, right? Former top White House aide Steve Bannon believes the most dangerous Democratic ticket in 2020 would be Beto O'Rourke and Kamala Harris. That's what he thinks. He thinks that that would be the ticket that would be the most formidable against Trump. He's saying doesn't matter which position either's in. So Beto could be the president, Kamala VP, Kamala president, Beto VP. Either way, he thinks that would be the most dangerous ticket to Donald Trump. Except that ticket wouldn't get any progressives. So I can't agree with Steve Bannon on that unless he's just completely oblivious to what the progressive movement is, who progressive voters are, what we stand for. We wouldn't vote. I mean, would we vote for that? That would be a tough sell for hardcore progressives to get any of us to vote for Beto O'Rourke, Kamala Harris ticket. So I don't think that is the most dangerous Democratic ticket. Maybe he said that in order to get those two on a ticket. You know, you always kind of have to wonder when these guys come out and say things like this, like, what is his motivation? Is he trying to get Democrats to say, oh my gosh, yes, this would be the ticket. So, let's go and push these people, and knowing that it's actually a weak ticket, that really the most formidable ticket might be, like Bernie Sanders, Tulsi Gabbard ticket. That would be the ticket. That would be a tough ticket to beat for Trump, because it would get all the libertarians. It would get all the progressives. All of us progressives would vote for it. All of the mainstream Democrats would vote for it because they vote blue no matter who. And all of the libertarians would vote for it because they absolutely love Tulsi Gabbard. Also in 2020 news, the Denver Post reports Colorado Senator Michael Bennet is close to launching a presidential bid. They just keep coming, don't they? Eric Swalwell, I guess he's a congressperson from, I don't know where he's from. Anyway, he's also thinking about running for president. I think he's saying that, everything's looking like it's a green light for him to go for it. They are just coming out in droves. I mean, I just really thought, okay, this is it. Every time one makes an announcement, it's like, okay, this is it, right? This is it. No, it's never it. They just keep coming out. So he's maybe, I don't even know who he is really. John Hickenlooper, he did his CNN town hall. He said a lot of really crazy things in it. I mean, he was saying, why don't you guys ever ask us why don't you ask any of the female candidates if they would choose a male for their VP? I don't understand why you wouldn't ask them that question. It's like, come on, how tone deaf are you? It's because we've never had a woman in the White House as a president or a VP. That's why. Why do we have to spell this out for you? Let's see what else here. A new poll of Iowa caucus goers shows Joe Biden with a large lead in the state. The poll conducted by Public Policy Polling on behalf of End Citizens United only polls a handful of the 2020 presidential contenders. Joe Biden was at 29%, followed by Bernie Sanders at 15%, Elizabeth Warren at 8%, Beto O'Rourke at 7%, Klobuchar at 6%, Kamala Harris at 5%, Cory Booker at 4%. And 4% said they were for someone else, and 22% were not sure. Do you believe these polls? I don't really believe these polls. So, I mean, who are they polling? Who are they polling? Who are these people that say that they would vote for Joe Biden? I guess if they're sitting there thinking, well, he would just be the next Obama. But, when presidents select their VPs, they're usually selecting someone to round out the ticket. They're not selecting their clone. So why can't people just use their brains for a moment there? Joe Biden is not another Obama. Obama selected him as his VP because he was rounding out the ticket. That means that he's different from him. So anybody who thinks, oh, Joe Biden would be Obama 2.0, no. And I wouldn't want Obama 2.0, but I certainly don't want Joe Biden. Obama was more progressive than Joe Biden, and Obama wasn't even a progressive.